Hey, good morning, Miss Helen.
Good morning, Allan.
Hey.
I'd like to know, I remember you mentioned you lost almost 50 pounds. I wanted to know what came to your head when you finally realized, oh my God, that was an old me. Was it a dramatic shift in your head?
The short answer would be yes. It was a huge shift in my head. And the reason why was because it was a massive amount of pain, a massive amount of pain that went through me emotionally when one day I was taking photos with my friends. We were on a vacation. And when I got those photos back and looked at them, I realized how much I'd let myself go. It's crazy to think that every single day we could see ourselves, or in this case, I could see myself through the mirror, but I didn't notice the subtle daily changes that were happening in my body until literally we went to vacation. I was just in a pair of shorts. I was at the beach. A friend of mine snuck a picture, and when we got back, they sent it to me, and I looked at this photo, and I'm like, I compared to what I thought was in my head, I looked at that photo and I thought, oh my God, who is this person? Like, who the hell is this person? I got mad. And I was mad because instantly I felt so ashamed because inside I thought, how did I not see this? Like, how did I not see myself transform into something that I don't feel proud of? Because in contrast, a year before that, I was in good shape. I was in relatively good shape. I was running, I was working out, not going to the gym at the time. I was just running around the block and doing like calisthenic type movement at home, but it was enough. It was enough for me to sustain my weight. After a lifestyle change, I gained 50 pounds. I knew I'd gained some weight for sure, but I didn't know how much. When I saw that photo, oh my God. And then when I decided to go back to the gym, I got defeated again because I went back and the things that used to be really easy had become so hard. Like it became I felt like, I remember the first time I went back to the gym, I thought, why does this feel like I've never been here before, or I've never done this thing before? Like in my head, I knew I'd worked out, obviously, but my body was responding as if I was coming back from some sort of injury because I was really weak. I was getting tired fast. My muscles were cramping. I didn't feel good. And then, of course, I went through another level of shame, which I allowed to put me out for another four to 6 months. So I'd gone through this period where I got into good shape, and then I relaxed a little too much, and I went through this dive, discovered how low I let my body get down to, and then went down deeper because I felt like, oh my God, it's too late for me now. It's just too late. I mean, it was stupid for me to think that, obviously. I was 30 at the time. Like, who the hell says it's too late when you're 30? Like 30 is the 20 from like before. It's like 50 is the new 30, right?
Yeah.
But when you feel defeated, that's a real thing in your head. It's not real in the world. It's not real in reality. But the reality in our heads is like, this is it. And that's when I realized I can't stay here, because the way I was living during that lull moment of my life, everything that I used to enjoy, I then hated. Everything I used to feel confident about, I felt disappointed or ashamed. And I woke up again that one morning just going, like, and I didn't think about this moment. I've never shared this before. I was in a down period of my life, and my friends decided, hey, let's go out. And I said, hey, let's go. And we went out, we partied, we had some fun. I used to be a big clubber back in the days. And I went home that night, drank a beer just to top off the evening. I'm like, oh, I'm still wired from all this dancing. He said, I'll drink a beer. And my friend said, if you drink a beer, then you can go to sleep faster. Lack of knowledge, of course, when I was 29, 30. So I drank the beer. And I kid you not, okay? I kid you not. I had great sleep that night. But the next morning when I woke up and I looked in the mirror, for the first time, I looked at myself in the mirror, and the first thought that came to my head was, why do I look like I'm 5 pounds heavier? What the hell? That can't be right. Like, I just went to bed and I woke up and my face looked like this balloon. One of my friends, she used to say to me, Allan, why is your head just as wide as it is long? I'm like, what? What are you saying? Like, that really hurt. So all those moments, the accumulation of those moments, to make a long story short, is what drove me, because the pain was just so hard to bear that either I just created that as my new norm, or in my case, I said, okay, I have got to do something about this. And that's how my next transformation started.
So when you got to the body that, I guess when you participate in the competition, was that the best you ever been? Or was it something you already had achieved in your younger years? The reason I asked you this question, it was because I look at myself 2 years ago. I mean, I was never overweight or anything like that. I always maintained my body. But when I look back, some of the photos in 2018 before my journey, I look at, I mean, that's not really me now, right? Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. So that shift was like, wow, there's always next level of us that we can achieve. Right. So for you, the reason I asked you, I mean, I would never been this fit in my life, but for you, have you ever been the fittest when you competed in your competition? Or were you like always, there's some women always like, clients come to us, right? I want to go back to that younger self. But for me was, I want to, just have a little bit toned body. I never know I could be better so much versus before. So my question again was that the best you ever been in your?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the answer was yes. Well, what happened was, throughout my teens, in my teens, I was very athletic. Right. And then once I was 20, I went to a drop. When I was 25, I got back up to fitness. When I was at 30, I went through a drop. When I was at 32, I went back up. And then after 32, I kind of stayed in this upper zone where I was not always the leanest, but I always maintained a certain amount of strength, recovery ability, endurance. And the reason why I went through these lulls in the past, where I went high, low, was because I realized now in my 40s, looking back, the way I thought about fitness was goal setting. It was like, I got to get to this thing. And when I get to this thing, then I'm going to be happy because I felt like I accomplished this thing and I got this goal. So it was very closed-minded in the sense that it was about the result. But it wasn't about what we've now learned, which is to keep our eyes, yes, on the result, but to enjoy it and to have it prolonged, like to live it. We have to learn to enjoy the journey, the process. We have to make our attachment part of the process versus just getting that trophy or getting on stage or getting that six-pack. Now, is there anything wrong with going after that? No, that's part of why we do what we do, for whatever that is. Whether it's a trophy or whether it's just to look good in your dress or to look good naked or to have your spouse look at you like, oh my God, you're the most amazing thing. I don't remember you ever looking this phenomenal, or whatever the case is. The attachment to the end result, it can't, to what my experience at least, is it can't be 100% about that. No. Because we're only, like the time that I was on stage, it felt like an eternity when I was there, but in the context of my life, it's like one little dot. So if I'm going to get attached to anything, why I realize this now and asking myself, why would I allow myself to get attached to just that one moment in life when 90% of my life is going to be spent in the progression of my body? So once I made that shift, I never went down to that super low point again. Yes, I've accumulated some body fat. Yes, there's times where I haven't been in the best shape. Like if you look at my body now, it's not like how it was in 2013 when I competed. However, am I down to the point of being completely out of shape? No. Am I weak? For 42, I consider myself no. Am I always trying to find new ways to progress, whether it's endurance or power or flexibility or something? I'm always looking now. Why? because I'm more attached to the process, and I'm really attached to the idea of learning something new. So my knowledge base from 2013 to 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, what I knew in 2013 is a fraction of what I've learned and applied today. And what I know today, I believe, will be a fraction of what I'm going to know in 2025, 2030, and so on. So that's what I'm attached to, which is why I no longer go through these high and low points. I kind of stay in the middle. But if I need to go high, like let's say I need to compete, I know how to do it. Let's say I need to get on stage and rip up my body. I now know how to do it. Let's say I need to pack on some strength because I wanted to take part in a strength program of some type. I can do it. I'm not the best at it, but I'm knowledgeable enough where I no longer have to let myself go down to that bottom, sink to that bottom again, where I don't even recognize my body anymore. And I think that's why a lot of people end up going through that. It's because they get too attached to the end result and they don't end up learning to love the process.
Definitely. I believe the confidence that we gain every time we take challenges, and when you overcome one challenge, the next one will be easier, evener, and then we become emotionally stronger. And I think for me, that's 80% of why I enjoy more what I do. And it just, like you said, it's just not the body. If we have that power, right? That emotional power, that mental power. When we have that, we can do anything. It's just not our body. It can be what life in general, right?
Right. I agree. I find that getting attached to your ability to grow is what sustains your ability to maintain results, and not only maintain results, but build on top of it. You're a great example of what we're discussing here today, because if you look at 2018, when you were trained, 2018, you would train with me for the first year. That was your first consistent year. And if we look at 2018 to 2019, there was already a dramatic improvement. Now we look at 2019 to 2020, you look at your body 2019, you had moments where you were really, your figure was really fit. It was always fit, but you had more muscle at certain times. And at other times you were just way too skinny. Whereas now 2020, if we look at the majority of this year in closing off at the time of this recording, December, the majority of this year, you've maintained a certain muscle tone, a certain figure. And it just keeps getting better. Why? It's because I believe, and you can tell me because it's your body, it's your mind, but I believe that you've grown to become attached to the process. Like, you love going to the gym. You can't spend more. When you had to go on vacation for the week, just a little while ago, a few months ago, I remember when you got back, one of the first things that you said was that you missed going to the gym. Like, you couldn't wait to get back to training. So that instantly tells me that for the rest of your life, you're always going to be able to maintain a certain level of fitness, because you didn't say, oh, I missed that trophy, or I missed just being on stage. Yes, you missed the experience too, for sure.
It's a standard. It's a standard I gave myself.
Correct. And that's what separates the people who end up getting their results and keeping them versus people that get results sometimes, but then lose it the moment that they're disattached from the environment that built them to get to that level.
Yes. The power comes with responsibility. Back to that expression again, because when you reach a certain level, you don't want to go back. You know how painful it is to go back, right? Like everything else, a skill set that we have. So when I look back to, again, when why we want to talk about this topic is when I look back, wow, that was me. This is me now. And the shift, what we can do, my curiosity, and just by that one simple decision that I made, let's go for it, right? In February, and look at one little decision that I made transform in so much beauty. Yes. Of course, along the journey, there were many struggles, but that's just part of it, right? So, and I asked you how you feel looking back. Oh my God, that's the old me. It's like book 1, book 2, version 1, version 2. How beautiful it is, right? So it would be nice if women who wanted to transform can allow themselves just to make the first step.
I totally agree with what you're saying. And I think one of the biggest challenges that people have is just knowing two things. Number one, it's knowing what that step is, and B, allowing themselves to believe that that step is possible for them. Like, for example, women look at you now and they see the you today. They see Helen Fong today. And what I'm noticing from a lot of the comments is a lot of them presume all these things like, oh, it's your genes, your genetics, you probably always looked young, like you probably always had nice skin. You've always had nice skin. You've probably always been athletic. You've probably been training for 30 or 20 years. And then I watch as when you reply to them, you're like, no, I started when I was 49 years old and now I'm 52. They're like, what? You started when you're 49? And it breaks their paradigm. Or when you do show them, like, you and I just had a chat yesterday and we pulled up your old 2018 before photos, which was not even your day one photos. It was like your month 8 photos, give or take, of when you were actually already regularly training. And that even in those photos, there was still some cellulite, there was still loose skin, there was still almost minimal to no muscle tone in your lower half, right? Like your upper body, you've always had arms and back, which is great. But your complaints were always like, oh, my lower body, my glutes are attached to my legs, there's no separation. And like when people see that, it blows their mind and they go, oh crap. So Helen Fong, she didn't always look like this all her life. She actually had to go and work for it.
I work hard.
And the conclusion of this is when people don't go after it until they believe, even just with a little bit of ounce of belief that they can. And when they can, they have to visualize, well, what is that going to look like for me? Like, compare fitness to anything. Like you want to get a job, for example, like you want to become an airline stewardess, or you want to become a pilot, or you want to be a dentist. People don't go, oh, well, I want to be a dentist, and some way, somehow I'll just stumble on it. No, they first go, I'm going to be a dentist. I want to be a dentist. And then they study, how do they go and become a dentist? Same thing with being a car mechanic, same thing with being a sales agent, same thing with starting a business. Whenever they go after something, they think about it first, and then they decide, this is what I'm going to go after. And then they go after it. It's interesting because when we look at fitness, the mindset is it's that for achievement, but the application of when people, men or women, when they decide to go after their ideal body, they forget that they've been practicing that process of results first in your mind, and then I'm going to go get it. When it comes to fitness, they no longer apply that. And I'm talking as a generalization. Yes, of course, there are some people that know this up front, but many people, when they don't step into this realm, it's like the lottery mentality that comes up. It's like, oh, I hope I'll get it one day, or I wish I could have that. Well, there's no wishing. It's like, and I'm not being disrespectful. I get it. I know
what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Just like, I have two children who are at a university now. The ones who want to get a degree, they end up, even after 4 years, do nothing. But the ones who know exactly what they want to do, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, they go straight to the top, right? So like you said,
even what you just said, even what you said about getting a degree, that was still a decision. I'm going to get a degree. So what did? They spent 4 years to go get, or 6 years, whatever it was. They spent the time, invested the effort, the money to go and get that degree. But notice what you said. You said they decided to get a degree. So the result, they already set out in their mind, and then they put the action to get that result. Fitness is the same way. You want a nicer body, for all of you that are watching this video, you want a nicer body, put it in your mind, this is what I'm going to get. Right. And then figure out and learn how to go get it. And now, of course, some women or some men, both, will say, oh, but I've never had that body before. Allan, Helen, I don't know. I've never looked as amazing as you, Helen, or I've never been on stage like you before, Allan, or I've never had a trophy like you before, Helen, or I've never. Hey, look, you never knew how to drive before, but you learned to figure it out. You never knew how to go to school for your particular subject, but you learned to figure it out.
Interesting.
Everything.
When you said that, I mean, I have always tried to achieve things I want. Like going to university, I didn't get it. I get the credit, and I went. But when it comes to fitness on stage, it was hard for me to imagine myself on stage. Didn't know
Right,
why, but I said that would be so nice for me at
right.
50 on stage. It just was just like a dream that was far, far out of reach. But then somehow I went on. That was
Well,
actually a miracle for me.
look at what you just said. That makes so much sense. What you had just said is, well, I'd never dreamed, like prior to that event,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
said, like, I never dreamed that before. Well, why? Why? And here's why. It's because we can, as humans,
Right.
we can only dream what we get exposed to.
Mm.
We can only dream about what we get exposed to. And I'm talking about the majority. There
Can you,
are
can
some
you
people that are
explain that?
total.
What do you mean? Can you explain that a little bit?
Like, so you think about school, for example, super common. Everybody knows about school, right? You'd have to live like in a village somewhere out of nowhere to not know about school. But why is it that everybody knows about school? Well, everyone knows about school because no matter
Our
where you are
environment.
in the
That's why
world,
our environment. Yes, yes.
yeah, exactly. You know about being a dentist, or you know about being a pilot. Why does everyone know that? Well,
Mm.
because everybody's exposed to that. Now,
Yes.
fitness. Now, think about your situation.
Yeah.
Being a
Yeah.
competitor,
Mhm.
half naked per se, in a two-piece bikini, showing off every angle on your body at 50 years old. That it's not common. Like, not at this
Yeah.
stage.
It was.
It's gonna
It wasn't. Yeah. Yeah.
5 years from now, 7 years from now, okay, it's my belief. The average 50-year-old woman will look somewhat like you, Helen.
Mm.
But right now in 2020, the average 50-year-old looks up to you. Why? Because it's not common.
If I
So
can
going
do it,
back,
they can do it too. Right.
but that's the thing. It's like until someone steps up
Right.
and says and not just speaks, but demonstrates this is the result that you can have, even at 50, even if you've never done this before, even if you started at 49 years old, it's still possible for you. And
The thing, it
because
wasn't that hard. It wasn't that difficult when you
it's
actually
not
do
that
it.
hard now, right? We're not that hard now, but that's the challenge. The biggest challenge is getting it over your head.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
look what you did. When I had asked you to do this, to take part in the fitness arena, you had said no for almost a year. It was about 10 months, and respectfully so, because everyone has their time. But when you said yes, what was the first thing you did? On February 4th, and I remember, guys, for all of you watching, because it was my birthday when she said that. So
I
of
didn't know
course
it was your birthday.
I know. It was like a surprise gift for me. I was like, wow, it's my birthday. And she said, yes, we're doing this. Cool. So when you said that, the first thing you did in March, I believe it was March, is you went to a competition to watch.
Yeah.
Now think about what happens in that moment. When you go into that environment, it's no longer a conversation between you and I where the dream is maybe one day you'll get on stage. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
You stepped into an environment where you were surrounded with athletes. You were surrounded with men and women.
I still feel excluded at
Well,
first
yeah,
when I
you
went in.
were. You
Yeah.
were. No, I mean, you could have been because you weren't part of that club yet. It's like when you want to be a pilot. When you're a student and a pilot, you can't learn from just the books. The student pilot, he goes to or she goes to the airport and hang out with the pilots. They spend time with them. You got to get into that arena to understand how they think and how they operate. Right? What you did. And because that's what you did, not only did you get a chance to get exposed to what was possible for you, but it only raised your belief tenfold. Because now when you stepped into that environment, it wasn't just a conversation between you and me. That became your new reality, because when you walked out of that room, that competition where you were watching, now you knew, because there are so many examples. Holy crap. There's so many women up there that are doing this.
Yes.
Why can't I?
Yeah.
Right?
Not just in the 50s, some of them in the 60s and 70s too. Amazing.
Right.
Yeah. Get
Right.
exposed to other people, get inspiration. I think you're right. Our environment, our surrounding makes a huge difference.
It makes all the difference. All the difference.
Just lucky to have you as a coach who also competed in competition. So I was guided to where I wanted to be. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And it was an honor for me, and it still is. And for all the ladies that are here that are watching this video, if ever you're in that position where you're like, I don't know if I can do this for me, the first thing that Helen and I would recommend to you is to do what Helen did. Get around people that are in the fitness environment. With COVID is now happening, so we're all in a lockdown to some level, but there's Facebook groups, there's online groups, there's and most of the stuff is done online anyway.
Yes.
So get around and spend time with those people online, talk to them, chat with them, find out their stories. You know, one of the most powerful things that it's so undermined these days still, but it's still such a powerful transition, like a deal breaker to break through our disbeliefs, is when we find out people's stories. We find out how hard it was for them, how challenging it was. And you know what? There's a lot of people, like, we've had tough times in our life, right? There's still some people out there that have had it way tougher than you and me and many people watching this video, and yet they still found a way to succeed. So those people, those stories become such a gem, because when you hear enough of them and you see enough of them, it makes your own mind start to realize, okay, my situation is tough. I have a disbelief. I don't think I can do this. I've never done this before. I don't have any support. I might lack the money to do this, because it costs some money to get your supplements, to get a gym pass, et cetera, et cetera. But they had it way worse and they still made it.
Yes.
So I've got to be able to find a way. And when that happens,
you're right. Totally get out of our own little world and go out and expose ourselves to different people, different environment will make it tremendous difference in our life, the way we look at things. I also believe that's why people travel so much too, right?
Before COVID, yeah, absolutely.
But now you can actually connect to so many people online virtually, and it's easier than ever than before, right?
Yeah, easier and mandatory now, because without the online connection, it's hard to connect with anybody.
Well, thank you so much, Allan, for such a great chat.